You're listening to the Total Geek podcast. My name is Sean Bartley, and I'm joined by my friends
Leo?
Harris.
We are creators who join together to do what it is that we do every day, which is discuss comic books and geek culture in general. And we're doing it for you people because we love you people. It's a pretty big week in comic books, and so we're very excited to get into it. We actually all just sort of banded together and read this week's book and last week's books because we were a little bit behind. So we're all very excited to talk about that. Today, we actually have a special guest with us. He's a friend of the show, a personal friend of mine. He's a creator himself, and I'm just going to let him do his own introduction.
What up, people? My name is Daniel Larona, and I'm your special guest for today.
Yay!
Awesome.
And it's not Ben Affleck.
No, it is not. It is not.
But I might be just as handsome.
So
that's yet to be seen.
You would know.
I think we should let the public be the judge of that.
Yes, we will never post his picture.
Right? So it's a relatively light news week. Speaking of Ben Affleck, we're not going to talk about Ben Affleck this week. We're done with Ben Affleck for now, but he may return.
Oh my God.
We're actually going to talk about Lex Luthor, aka Bryan Cranston, right? The heavily rumored Bryan Cranston as Lex Luthor thing that floated around all of last week. Now, Bryan Cranston has come out and said that it's a joke. He laughed it off, in fact. It was the first time he'd heard of it. So I'm wondering what
of
you
the
guys...
rumor of Lex Luthor?
The rumor. He said... He essentially said it's the first time he's heard of the rumor, and he can't even imagine himself being tied down for 6 films, something of that nature. So I'm wondering...
Sounds very truthful.
You believe him?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
For that
I don't
amount of
even
movies,
know.
I do.
At this point, you could be laughing about it, but you don't even know if it's a true
Right.
at all.
Right.
It could be something he's just saying for to throw people off,
Yeah.
or then again, it's just like still speculation. You could laugh it off, but how many times people laugh off something,
Sure.
and then they end up in the project?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
So-
but I can see him saying no to 6 movies.
Sure.
Yes, definitely I can see him saying yes to the Lex Luthor thing and maybe laughing that out to throw people off his scent. But I do not see him committing to 6 movies for actors at that age is a lot.
I mean, exactly. He's 56 years old, right? And the thing is, 6 movies doesn't mean 6 feature-length film roles. It could mean sort of like Nick Fury, end of the film, appearances, things of that nature. For example, in a Justice League film, I don't see Lex Luthor being a major part in that. He could have a role, he could have a minor role, etc. So 6 films could just mean 6 minor appearances, and we have to keep that in mind.
Also, even if he does these movies, I don't really see him doing action. It's like
Right.
he's not going to physically exert himself.
Right.
Even the Nick Fury character, he only had very little, if at all, action sequences,
Yeah.
and even that is not strenuous. They do camera magic to make it look like that, but when you actually look at it, like, oh, he just walked like 2 feet, posed, and that was it.
Yeah,
Shot
sure.
his gun. I get to shoot my gun. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Cut
mean,
and paste.
but he is 56, and these movies, 6 movies, he could be involved in these projects no matter how long it takes, no matter how long he's actually appearing in the films. He could be involved in these projects for the next, I don't know, 6-7 years per se. So that's a lot of time. He's 56.
Yeah, I always say that you really have to consider what has happened in the past in order to understand what's going to happen in the future. A lot of these actors do not like to be tied down in long movies, the process of long numbers of movies. And usually when they get approached to this, what they do is say, here's what we want, and can you do it or will you do it? And then the process is like, well, I want time to do my TV shows. I want time to produce this. I have to run my production company. I want to do this. I want to do that. So usually what happens is like they'll go for 1 or 2 movies, and then they see if the first movie, the first crack at it is successful, then they'll hang on or attach themselves to the following movies that come from that.
From what you said, Leo, it reminded me of something, and I didn't think of this before. Bryan Cranston actually, and this was said before, after Breaking Bad, he's already doing deals and productions and trying to develop 2 or 3 different TV shows.
Exactly. So he's a very busy man at 56.
It may not be that he's signed on to doing X amount of movies. It may be true that he's doing one, but they're saying I can't imagine to do those so many is because he already has so many on his plate already.
Correct.
Right. Well, Breaking Bad, the end of Breaking Bad does free up some time for Bryan Cranston to do more things, which again could involve other production deals, but it also could involve being a part of DC's universe. I think when we talk about this, we do have to keep in mind that we're talking about potentially a major role in Batman versus Superman should this happen, and then probably smaller roles in other films. So it's not going to be that time consuming for him. What concerns me more when I think about the validity of this rumor potential is his age. Just that it's a lot of effort to do anything that, at that level when you're that age,
Well, especially when you just announce that you want to produce,
Right,
you want to run your own companies and stuff like that.
Right.
I just had a train of thought in my head and it just went off again, like always.
That's what happens when you're old, right?
Yeah, that's what happens. So imagine he's 56, I'm only 37.
Exactly.
But then again, I don't live his good life. But I guess what I was trying to, well, let's move on to that until the light turns on sometime.
You can interrupt if you remember what it was that you were going to say. But the other news in the Man of Steel 2 world is that, we are talking about Ben Affleck. Forgive me. We are talking about
It's
Ben
our
Affleck.
fourth
Very
podcast
briefly.
and we're still talking about Affleck.
Ben Affleck, Batman, I should say, Batfleck, we'll call him.
Affleck. Oh, nice. I like what you
may
did
have a girlfriend in the upcoming film.
there. Matt Damon?
Wow.
My
That's
thing
forever
is,
going to be done with that. Wow.
My thing is, why is
What?
it that every time we talk
Why
about
not,
Ben
hey?
Affleck, you find a way to
Because he
slip
has-
Matt Damon
he
into the
has-
crack?
Wait a minute.
What
Isn't
is
Matt
that?
Damon rumored to be on the GLA movie?
Yes.
Wait,
yes.
wait,
So
wait,
there
wait,
I
wait, wait,
rest
wait a
my
minute.
case.
But didn't your
I
mouth
rest
salivate?
my case.
Didn't your mouth salivate the minute you thought of Matt Damon being in it? You were
No,
like,
because I have
Matt
something
Damon.
that does not let me salivate.
That came from him so quick. It's not even funny. Immediately, Matt Damon.
Why not?
Oh, why?
You love that Matt Damon,
Why
don't
not?
you?
Why can't Matt Damon and Ben Affleck be happy together? Finally.
I think
I'll
you
snap.
dream. I think you dream of that every single day.
I told you guys 2 podcasts ago that Matt Damon was going to show up somehow, some way, in some capacity because Ben Affleck was in it. You guys laughed at me. And here we are with a rumor that Matt Damon is going to be, of all people, Aquaman.
And you know what's the funny thing though?
Or Martian Manhunter.
People have that stuck in their head, but the only movie they were ever in together, majorly, was Good Will Hunting. The only time they appeared together in a
No,
movie
what about
after that was
Dogma?
Was Dogma and
Yeah, Dogma.
Oh,
there was not a movie
Jay and
called
Silent
Dogma.
Bob Strike Back.
Yeah,
They had a small part, but other than that, they don't really join into
They
movies.
produce together. They
They
write
produce,
together. They came
but
up
they
together.
don't. But they don't appear on
Right.
screen together.
They went to the same acting school. Had the same acting coach.
Yeah, they won an
Matt
Oscar
Damon
together.
married the secretary of who? Ben Affleck.
Wow.
So these guys.
Why do you know the whole history of
I
these
know
two guys
the whole
together?
He's a
history of these
stalker.
guys. It's my job to know.
Oh my God. Okay.
So going back to the girlfriend,
Right. Thank
which
you.
is not Matt Damon.
No, it is not.
Even though I really hope it is.
Wow.
I can see the restraining order now.
Yes.
So they're casting. They haven't cast anyone yet, but they're looking for a woman who is tall and
Hopefully.
physically fit and of any ethnicity. And it appears that this is casting for Batfleck's woman in the film. So that's an interesting piece. I mean, I
Matt
sort
Damon?
of felt that no, not Matt Damon.
Cat Damon.
No, I sort of felt that this was going to be a more grizzled Batman who doesn't really keep the facade of Bruce Wayne up as much. But it's interesting to me that he will have a girlfriend in this film potentially.
Maybe it's the reporter,
Vicky Vale.
Vicky Vale.
Right, it could be. But my train of thought is that is this him keeping up appearances or is this a real relationship that he's developed over time?
All right.
I'm curious.
How about this? What if they say it's his girlfriend, but what if it's actually Catwoman?
Okay.
That's a difference because people are saying, oh, she may be a reporter, she may be. But what if it's Catwoman?
Well, I
Right.
think it makes more sense if it's Vicky Vale because she's a reporter, and you have Clark Kent and you have Lois Lane, and you can bring them all together
Right.
with that kind of
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Well, that
So you're saying that they're probably going to go with the damsel in distress type of thing.
no, just that they're fellow reporters and they get together in
Right.
Gotham, and that's
Yeah.
how the story starts. It just makes sense that if you have Clark Kent, who's a journalist, and you have Lois Lane, who's a reporter, to have the most well-known girlfriend that Bruce Wayne has, who's also a reporter, who also happens to be Vicky Vale,
Right.
and who's also a prominent character in the comic books and in the first Batman movie,
Right.
and link them together in the story to make it move forward. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. It does. Yeah, definitely.
Now, who they will cast as Vicky Vale? Well, that's
Fair
different.
enough.
I think if it was Catwoman, this would be a bigger deal. You don't just sort of offhandedly cast for Catwoman. I think they would be searching for a very high profile actress. This was sort of a low key sort of. We're just looking for a woman to play this role.
But wouldn't that be kind of perfect though to throw people off?
I suppose, but
Because they could say, "Hey, we're looking for this guy with this general description and this general description." Who knows who it's actually going to be?
right. Well, I don't know. I mean, it could be Catwoman. It could be Vicky Vale. There's a lot of options.
It could be a
somebody.
retired Selena Kyle, a pregnant
Right.
retired Selena Kyle.
It could be a whole new character.
Yeah,
You know,
it could be also.
this
Sure.
is a very small piece of news with very little detail attached.
This,
But yeah,
this,
go ahead.
This has the potential to either be a big piece of the storytelling,
Yeah.
or a small piece of the storytelling. I would prefer if they make it a big part of the script.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. And now another interesting point, since we're having an older Batman, then this could be a retired Selena Kyle, because we both know that well, it's probably different. This will be an interesting point, since you have an older, kind of semi-retired Bruce Wayne in the movie. Then we'll have I guess, a fully retired. If we're going with the super heroine line,
Right.
in the thing, probably harder for a woman with those high heels running around
Well,
fighting crime.
Well, they're casting a late 20s woman.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
That's very young.
right.
Go Bruce Wayne. Go, my boy. Go.
The only thing about the retired Catwoman thing for me is that we just saw that. We just saw Batman retire with Catwoman also retiring alongside him.
A young Catwoman, though.
A young Catwoman. This is also a young Catwoman. This is late 20s. So my thing is that too much of an echo of the last regime of Batman films by Nolan? Is that going to cause people to question whether this is that same Batman?
Don't know. I don't think so. I think we're established to this point. It doesn't matter what they do. People are going to disassociate themselves from the Christopher Nolan movies.
It's interesting that you feel that way, because I don't know that they would.
I think so. I think eventually now with the people forget it easily also, and pretty quickly. What you guys think?
Well, I remember when Batman Begins first came out, many people asked me if it was a prequel to the Batman '89 film, which I found very strange. But that's the general audience. Now, I will submit that they are smarter now than they've been. But there is still that sort of.
Can I maybe because if you remember the original Batman movie with Michael Keaton, they never went completely into the origin, like how he trained himself, how he went back.
Yeah, right.
So how I can see how people might have confused that.
Yeah.
It's before that.
Yep.
But once you saw the second movie, you have to realize it's a whole completely different thing.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I look at it, people will probably see it as a completely different Batman altogether. Like,
Yeah, I see it that way too.
they don't really need to see an origin, see something like that, because there's so much information already on the character, and character's already been established from two well-known film franchises. They're like, or the same film franchise, but in two different eras.
Yeah.
That no, it's not a big thing, because people are hung up on just the fact that it's Affleck, so they already gonna know it's somebody.
Affleck.
They already know it's gonna be something completely different.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not an issue.
Okay. This is a note that I wanted to make. There was a petition put out to recast Batman, and I think the number was 79,000 people signed that petition to have him recast.
And won.
Uh, so the nerd rage, if you will, is very strong with this issue.
Damn you!
It's nothing
Finally
new.
did it.
They did almost the same. Now there's more. It's more widespread. We have the information age and all that stuff. But they almost did the same thing when Michael Keaton was cast. Because people forget when Michael Keaton was cast, it was right after these two movies, Mr. Mom and Beetlejuice.
Mr. Mom was a great movie.
And they hugely hated, just as much as they hated on Affleck. They completely
But
dumped
let
on
me
him
point-
until the film came
Let me
out.
point something out that's something that we brought before in other podcasts. I just realized that they weren't wrong though. Michael Keaton did a great job with the role, but he was miscast.
Interesting.
He was miscast. Let's just say that he did a great job. Remember, this is not the Joker. This is not the people keep saying no, but he left. People, yeah, the Joker can be anything because the Joker it's one character. It's a force of it's already formed.
Yeah.
Batman is two people. Really, it's Bruce Wayne. You have to pull the Bruce Wayne, the
Sure.
suave kind of thing, the billionaire guy, and you have to pull this character that's all rage, all control rage, and all this stuff. So really, you're playing two characters. Michael Keaton, well, you put the suit, he looked like Batman, and he
Yeah.
had the, but as a Bruce Wayne, he did not look like a Bruce Wayne. Again, he did a great job. We admire him for that, and we accepted it after we saw it. But he was miscast as Bruce Wayne.
When you put it like that, I can agree with you.
And no matter how many times we say, well, he did a great job, he was still miscast. When he was hired, he was miscast.
Well, what if the producers saw something that we didn't really know
Well,
about?
we
at
all
the
saw
time?
it. We saw the movie. Nobody's arguing that he did a great job. Nobody's arguing that, and nobody's arguing that he brought the nuances and the character. But when you looked at him, he was miscast.
Okay.
I could kind of agree with that, but also you have to lay that also on the directing and the writing.
Right.
But the movie
Because-
was very well directed. If we're talking about Batman, the first one, here,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton did a good job considering what Batman was at that point. He did a great job. The story wasn't bad at all. It had some ridiculous things with the Joker pulling out the gun and shooting
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Batwing
Joker
with-
antics. Yeah.
Yeah, with that. But then we accepted it because it was the Joker, and audience were less sophisticated, and they were kind of used to this campy Batman kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So they kind of acknowledged that, and it was put on. And it's Tim Burton. He's kind of wacky.
yeah, yeah. And it was very dark. It was, yeah,
Exactly,
it was very
but
goth.
But again, he was miscast. When you look at Michael Keaton, he doesn't look like Bruce Wayne, so he was miscast.
Okay.
We weren't wrong with that.
Yeah. But then again, I just say Tim Burton.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
remember, Once Upon a Time, and people forget that they were supposed to be a Superman movie that he was going to do. And he was responsible for letting Nicolas Cage be cast.
Exactly, that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
That would have been terrible. That's a miscast.
And
Even
now
if he would have done the movie and it would have been the greatest Superman movie you ever seen, you have never gone. Every time you see Superman, you're gonna wow, the movie is awesome. But damn, every time I see Nicolas Cage, he's not Superman. So he is miscast. It doesn't matter how much pedigree or acting shop Nicolas Cage brings to the role, he's been miscast in that role.
Right.
And that's something that I think a lot of people do not realize that now.
Well, he's miscast in a lot of things.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
unless you hire.
He
Well,
needs to
Ghost
stop-
Rider, anyone?
yeah, Ghost Rider
Yes.
is in this.
Wait, is he screaming or is he laughing? He doesn't even know himself.
Yeah, that was a really odd casting choice. But we're gonna move along, because we're gonna stay in the DC movie universe
Wow, we
because
gonna love Marvel.
no, we're definitely gonna get to Marvel. But there's an interesting bit of news that comes from the internet world, an announcement that Arrow has cast Amanda Waller, which is very interesting. We
Love it.
have she's Cynthia Adai Robinson from Spartacus. Actually, has anybody watched Spartacus?
Yes, I have.
You guys? Okay.
Awesome
I
show.
don't watch the show. Do you know who this is?
No, other than that role, I've never seen her before.
But did she act well in the role?
Well,
Was she talented?
Yeah,
And Spartacus is like everybody it's like top notch cast. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
this
and
is a
people surprise you,
but
but-
then again, this is a very different role from the role
Sure.
she played in Spartacus.
Right, I would imagine.
Amanda Waller is a totally different character than the character she's playing in Spartacus.
Yeah.
So, again, they probably cast her. They did their homework, and
Yeah.
she probably showed them something. But yeah, nothing on Spartacus. That character she played on Spartacus, sorry. It's very, very different than
Yeah.
what she's going
Night
to be
and day.
asked to be
Okay.
done here.
See, the thing that makes this casting so very interesting is Amanda Waller, as we're seeing right now in the comic book universe, is sort of somebody
DC
who's
universe.
in the DC comic universe, is somebody who's manipulating everything, and a lot of her actions have put many things into motion. And it was a similar thing on the Justice League animated show. She had a lot of power and a lot of influence over the DC universe and made things happen.
She runs the Suicide Squad.
Right, right.
and was part of Checkmate.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
checkmate.
And so she's appearing in Arrow, right? And if
Correct.
Arrow and the DC movie universe are going to be linked, then this is a very interesting piece to add to the puzzle.
Well, it's kind of logical because in season 1,
Yeah.
they already introduced members of the Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Yeah, they did.
So this is kind of leading into introducing her and be like, yeah, this is who we're taking orders
So it's
from.
kind of like what you're trying to say. It's kind of like a logical casting. Then
Yeah,
you have
because-
to show
because they
Amanda
already showed
Waller
them.
exactly.
So they're like, wait, they didn't really specify. They just say, oh yeah, we have orders, but they didn't say who.
Right.
Yeah. And she's
Right.
she's a great character for DC because she's in line to become. She's already because of the way that she's placed in the DC universe and the power she wields
Yeah.
and who she is. She's already obviously in odds with Bruce Wayne and obviously in odds with Lex Luthor.
Right, right.
But she's kind of like the best and the worst of both of them. And
Interesting.
yeah, she is.
Interesting.
She's obviously would kill if she has to or send somebody to die, but she
Yeah.
obviously is honorable and has morals. So she's kind of like that in between
Right.
that marriage of the two characters.
Well, it's a great character to introduce into that show, especially that they already announced before 2 powered people are actually going to be there, which is
A Flash.
Flash
Right.
and Black Canary.
Okay.
They already
Black
announced it, so-
Canary with a canary screen or just
actual Black Canary.
cool.
Because come on, what does Amanda Waller do in the DC universe? She kind of polices powered people.
Yeah.
And if she finds you dangerous or useful, she gets them to get you.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense. Oh, we're gonna do this. So it's gonna be a big conflict.
The good thing about her, if she finds you dangerous, then she finds you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I just find that to be a really interesting piece of the puzzle that they're putting together. I've always been a fan of her interactions with Lex Luthor. So I hope that we get to see those two on screen together, which I mean, I believe that Arrow is going to tie in to the movie universe. I'm not sure if that's been announced, but I believe that they will. And I believe that we're going to see some really cool stuff happen with Amanda Waller.
Yeah. The intention for DC when they first started these things was supposed to be that
Right.
this will be part of their universe going forward
Okay.
on their movie, but that might change.
Right. We'll see.
Yeah, changing all the
It actually
guards
also kind of depends on if the actor's willing to do that.
and-
Because originally, remember when Smallville came out, and then Christopher Reeve, when he was still alive, he said, "Hey, Tom Welling, I want you to be Superman after me," and he just pretty much said, "Oh no."
Yeah, but I think that's why they went to the TV route, like we said before. They went to the TV route first to
Right.
hire not established actors, but very little known, hungry actors that they could control their salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a opposite of what Marvel has done or Marvel is doing, where they're hiring established stars, and now they have to figure out payroll, and everybody wants their cut. So it's hard to make a movie now. Production values go up. It's harder to keep the actors portraying the same characters, and DC doesn't seem to want to. I mean, smartly not go down that route.
Well, Marvel is notorious for having contractual issues with their actors because they pay
Yeah, it's a
they
war
pay very
machine.
little money. Right. they don't pay a lot of money. They don't pay what these actors are used to being paid.
But those are very well, also very well known actors. The one they chose for I mean, Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle, yeah, the first War Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very
Wait, no,
well-known-
he was the second War Machine.
I'm
The
sorry,
The
he
first
first one was
was,
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but another well-known.
But he
actor
was
in Hollywood.
his issue was actually more with his attitude. People didn't really like his attitude behind the scenes,
Oh, okay.
and so he was recast for that reason. If I'm correct, I believe that's what I read.
From what I know is that afterwards, after the whole thing was done, and he said he didn't know and he was blindsided. It came out later that it was just that people didn't really get along with him.
Right?
His
Yeah,
attitude,
yeah, exactly.
and just his worth ethic didn't match other people. They were just like he dials in certain things, and they were just like, yeah, he's not too into it.
Maybe he felt that he was above the material.
Well,
I mean,
he actually, from what I recall, was paid more than Robert Downey Jr. for the first Iron Man.
Yeah, he was.
Because he was kind of the bigger star in that film.
of course. Yeah.
So-
I mean, remember he did Hustle and Flow. He won
Right,
an
and
Oscar
that was
for
a big time
yeah,
movie.
So
And so what ended up happening is that Iron Man sort of blew up Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard was, I mean, he kind of didn't have
Yeah,
that
of
big of a
course.
role, and it didn't mean anything in the grander scheme of
that's
things.
what I'm saying. He
I
probably-
think I preferred him as War Machine.
Yeah.
But
I think
as
they were,
Rhodey?
I think they were both miscast. as
okay,
Rhodey.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If I have to choose, I think Terrence Howard was better.
Okay.
But definitely there could have been another actor
Yeah.
who would have done the job better.
They were a
Yeah.
little too old for that role to me.
A little
compared
too
to the-
old and not physical enough.
Exactly.
Rhodey has always been a very physical
Very
character.
athletic.
Well, at least
Kinda like a
Terrence Howard
cyborg,
looked
kinda.
the part,
Right, right.
And you know he connect, but the thing is just, hey, you can't get along.
He didn't bring it in that film.
Yeah.
He didn't
Yeah.
bring
I
it.
don't-
And you knew he was dialing it in because he knew, hey, in the first movie he's not gonna do much, and then the second one
He would
he
become
would
War
be in it.
Machine and right.
That's why people were kind of excited to be like, oh, next time, baby. And then it just ended up, oh, wait, did you just shrink a couple of inches and lose so many pounds and got
Yeah.
darker?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
just you're somebody altogether. Oh, you must have the
And no
best
facial hair.
plastic surgeon ever. No, yeah, facial.
He
hair.
lost his face. Did he? I don't
Yeah.
remember. That
Who?
way.
Don Cheadle.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He did not have facial hair.
I don't remember having facial hair. But then
Well-
again, my memory is shot.
in any event, I think that's an interesting point. DC, if they do utilize the television world more, then they are setting themselves up to have potentially great actors for cheaper.
Yeah.
And so that will actually do well to sit alongside the Ben Afflecks of the world, who obviously they have
Of
already
course,
cast.
yeah.
So it's going to be really
I
interesting.
mean, remember the Harry Cavill, the Superman, the actor playing Superman. That's his name, Harry Cavill.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Henry
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
Sorry, Henry
yeah,
Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
This is they have an actor that obviously portraying the biggest character they have, and he's not that well known. So
Yeah.
So there you go. There you have all the ships across your board because you have the main guy, and,
Right.
and he's not that. He's not a Robert Downey Jr. He's not a any of the other guys that they're getting. This-
Well, I've always been fond of going the route of sort of casting these unknowns, or not unknowns, but little
Yeah.
knowns, because they don't overshadow the role.
exactly.
When you cast somebody, I don't know, like Jack Nicholson, inevitably he's going to become almost bigger than the character
Yeah.
because he's so well
It's
known.
like when you see. I said this before when I was watching the Avengers and Samuel L. Jackson was Nick Fury. I didn't see him as Nick Fury. I saw him as Samuel L. Jackson.
because he is Samuel L. Jackson
Exactly.
in every movie.
But I was waiting for him to say MF.
right.
At some point in the movie, you have
Yeah.
to say somebody put some goddamn snakes on the goddamn
Well, if
plane.
he does say it, you can only say it once in a PG-13
Oh, so
movie.
there you go. So it's kind of like a parody. Well,
Yeah.
that's why you don't want sometimes these actors to have very strong personalities,
Yeah,
take over a role and just be themselves in a costume suit,
right.
in a Halloween suit. Or
And
whatever.
and what I'm about to say is blasphemy, but the Robert Downey Jr. when he was first cast as Iron Man, I thought it was amazing casting, and I still do. It was a stroke of genius. But now,
Really? I didn't think so.
interesting. Well, I did, but now the thing is, for me, it's like he's become almost bigger than Tony Stark. It's now when we see Iron Man, it's the return of Robert Downey Jr. to the role. It's how is Robert Downey Jr. going to treat this role? And in Iron Man 3, for me, I felt more like I was watching Robert Downey Jr. on screen than I did Tony Stark.
I never remember when I was reading Iron Man, Tony Stark being such a jerk.
He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's a
always
jerk.
been that
Maybe
way.
He's a
now,
pretty
but
big jerk.
now when I was reading him in the 80s, he was very
Because that was probably before Demon in the Bottle.
No, Demon in the Bottle was the 70s.
Oh God, he's always been
Yeah.
a jerk, guys. Always.
No, he was an alcoholic, not necessarily a jerk. There's two different things. I
Are
should
they?
know.
Okay.
But yeah,
think Age of
he seems
Innocence,
a little too much asshole here in the last few movies than when you see him written in the comic.
Right.
To me, that's just
Yeah.
my
I mean,
interpretation.
okay. So the thing is, in the comics, since his personality is already established, it's almost like, okay, we don't need all of this overbearing Tony Stark stuff, especially when you're reading books like Avengers, where he is interacting with other people. Those books tend to have the personality in place but toned down so that other people can live. In his own book, though, that's where you're going to see the snarkiness. That's where you're going to see him be a jerk. That's where you're going to sort of see the playboy. When you read Avengers, it's more about what's happening in the moment, not about Tony's personality.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't remember him being even a playboy when I was reading Iron Man. But then,
His character changed over the years a
yeah,
lot.
but that might have been
Yeah.
a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the Stone Age there.
Yeah. Well, it just seems sexier if they make him like that in the movie, I guess.
Well, I actually think we've begun to see a more mature Tony Stark in recent days with Marvel, especially post AVX, because that's when he was sort of rattled to his core, over his belief system and such. And it seems to me, ever since he's been more focused on being less of the, although it still does exist in his solo book, as you've mentioned, less focused on being the playboy Tony Stark and more kind of more like Tony Stark superhero extraordinaire.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. I mean, I follow all things Iron Man in the comics, and he definitely has toned that down. Although, if any of you guys read Guardians of the Galaxy, the last issue, I believe it was.
I have not.
Okay, well,
I have not.
it was the issue before last, but it's followed up on an issue that just came out. He actually sleeps with Gamora, which was really interesting.
And he's
Yeah.
still alive?
And he's still alive.
master.
But Rocket, it was really a funny moment. Rocket Raccoon is sort of telling him, he admits that he slept with her, and Rocket Raccoon is like, are you crazy? Why would you ever do something like that? Like, she's a man-eater,
Exactly.
And so it's really cool to see
Maybe
him
she
in that
didn't
role.
find him enough of a man to eat him.
Ah, there you go. But no, I would say that Tony has matured since AVX, certainly, and
Good for you,
since Fear
Tony.
itself, since Fear
Good for
itself.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually a good way to transition into the comics. As I said, we had a large get together to read a number of books, and so we're essentially all caught up. Yay for us! And this is a really good time to be a comic reader, I have to say. I caught up on all things Trinity War and Forever Evil, and I'm all caught up with Infinity.
A very
which-
excited young man.
A very excited Harris over here. He was a huge fan of Trinity War and Forever Evil, so I'm just gonna step aside. We're gonna start with that, and you can go on and talk about that.
Trinity War. If you're not reading this, you should slap yourself really, really hard. Because
I just did. No, I'm reading. I'm kidding.
bad reviews or not, really, really solid story, and it paid off wonderfully. Especially that Sean, we had this discussion before we started the podcast, that no one saw that coming.
Nobody.
And if you may see this as a spoiler, guess what? You should have read it by now.
Pause. Spoiler alert. If you would like to not hear this, skip forward a little bit.
Spoiler.
The fact is that it reintroduced Earth 3
Right.
in the biggest way possible.
Right.
Especially that the person who was there on Earth manipulating the whole thing, everybody's speculating. It could be Darkseid. It could be this person. It could be this person. It was Alfred. Evil Alfred.
Yep.
Very evil.
Very evil.
Leading in Ultraman, Owlman, and the entire syndicate. And the way that they came in was so great. Like,
Badass.
yeah, which for lack of a better term,
Yep.
you see a really crazy looking Aquaman and he automatically drops dead. And you just see
Which
them come in.
I think that was hilarious.
yeah.
I was laughing.
Introducing the sleeper agents, which was who we thought was actually the Atom of this new 52.
And to think that
Right. I like that swerve, by the way.
in the new 52, Aquaman has gone such great length as a character and as a
Yeah,
story wise,
yeah.
and still they dig him. They still dig him.
That's funny. That's really funny.
That's why I was laughing. I was
We'll,
like,
we'll get to that right after Trinity. We talk about Trinity because I did read the most recent Aquaman that came out, but it was such a great thing from beginning to end, and the way that everything ties in together made complete sense.
Right.
It just and if you read the following book, Forever Evil, you'll be completely pleased on the way that they're handling this.
Right.
People are saying it's too short, but the thing is, it seems like a really short event. It ends.
yeah,
but
it was
it
only
just
6 books.
Yeah,
so,
but I take it as a precursor for greater things to come. It kicked off Villains Month, so and so
that
far
might not be a good thing.
I'm not sure because not every book is a winner. However, with Forever Evil and which I've read leading off of Trinity War, and the way the last panel, spoiler, if you're still trying to get back into this, go back into your room or something. Twiddle your thumbs if you haven't read it. But it leads to a logical closure point where you see, oh, all these villains are out. They're going to take over for a little while. And then you see Lex Luthor at the end literally say, there's a job for Superman, but where is he? Right. And the greatest thing that stuck in my head immediately is that, so all these villains are out. Who's going to save the Earth? The villains. Lex Luthor to lead them if they don't like what's going on? And where's the good side? Lex Luthor. He has to be somewhere. And what if there's 2 Lex Luthors who team up together at the same time? That'd be really interesting.
Because they have their own Lex Luthor, and we don't know if he's alive.
Yeah.
We don't know. Funny, then they pretty much Luthor becomes their bane in both worlds. Their world. Right. If anybody that read Crisis of Infinite, what is the name of the book?
Crisis of Infinite Earth.
Infinite Earth.
Yeah.
Where Lex Luthor was the hero on that story, and now on the current
Alexander Luthor
continuing now, Lex Luthor is like, this is a job for Superman, but where and you got that great panel where you have Ultraman pulling the moon over the sun.
Was that the moon?
Was that the moon, or was that
no? He just put some planetary body.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It looks like the moon, but I do not see it that way because since he's his ultimate opposite of Superman, the sun actually hurts him. So I guess it doesn't make much sense to me at the time, but it's just something to visually show everyone that this is a darker world. Yeah. To literally make it look darker instead of saying, why is every panel there's no daytime? No, this guy put something in.
And you had a little problem there with something that Ultraman did there somewhere in
there. Oh yeah, because
some sort of inhalation.
They did acknowledge that for a panel or two about the previous Earth 3 run, which was done by Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
And
which may or may not have nothing to do with this one.
But it was acknowledged. That's what I got to. But they did something with Ultraman, which is kind of weird. He is addicted to kryptonite because that's his source of his power.
Okay.
But instead of him having it on him, they literally took a huge piece of rock, which he found. He crushed it into dust and snorted it like cocaine.
Wow.
And literally instructs him, the evil cyborg, which is called Grid, to find every other remnant of kryptonite and don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
My problem with that is that that will be a limited supply.
Where did he took the kryptonite from? Luthor or Batman?
Huh? Where he took it from?
Yeah.
He took it from a Luthor vault.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought Trinity War was great. I read.
So don't blow your blow. That's what Harris wants.
I read I read 4 issues today. I read 4 issues of Trinity War, and then I read Forever Evil. So I pretty much got it all in one day. And I really enjoyed it. While I was reading it, without thinking about it, I mean, there were so many awesome moments, so many geek out moments, especially as you reared towards the end, where this revelation of Crime Syndicate. And I just want to quickly explain for anyone who doesn't know
the
what
last
that is.
two issues were
right.
Pick up steam right away.
Right.
And let you breathe.
Yeah, these are the counterparts of Earth 1 heroes. So you have Ultraman is Superman, Superwoman is Wonder Woman, Owlman is Batman. I don't even know the name of the Aquaman
Johnny Quick.
who got killed. Johnny Quick is the Flash. Green
Ring.
Power Ring.
Power Ring is Green Lantern, and
Atomica
is Adam, but there was no Adam for the
that
New
we know,
52.
or if they killed her.
We know,
right?
But that's supposed to be.
Yes, yeah. And then there was a Firestorm one. It was
Deathstorm.
Deathstorm. Okay. So it's these characters that we know, and of course Cyborg, Grid,
Well, Grid.
right?
Yeah. And Aquaman.
Who died?
Who was
in
called
an
Sea
instant.
King.
Or
Okay,
Sea
okay,
King.
great. I couldn't remember his name,
Yeah.
but
It was
so,
only one panel. Come on.
Yeah, it's these characters that we
Greatest
know,
joke ever.
and it's their
Messed up.
counterparts. And a lot of people have seen the DC animated film with the crime syndicate in it.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
A civil
I
don't
really, from the top of
remember.
my head, I can't.
Crisis
remember.
on Two Earths.
Crisis on Two Earths.
was it
Yes,
Cri- was it-
yes.
I have to look. In my
I'm not
library.
sure, but and I can be corrected on this, but a lot of people really dig these characters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
A lot of people really like Owlman.
I love Owlman and
Right.
on that animation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
movie.
really good
Very
interpretation.
intense.
So I personally was glad to see these characters enter the fray, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them going forward. But I'm going to say that I do have concerns. I've been reading Justice League of America, and I've been pretty caught up and into all that's been going on in the Justice League world so far, and I really don't understand why the secret society had to be formed. I don't understand
That makes no
what
sense to me.
Alfred was doing and why it was necessary to be done on Earth 1. How I understand that they needed to draw Pandora out. I get that. But I don't see how all that he did prior to Trinity War led to this
And
and,
what does-
why it was relevant.
And what does Alfred has to do with Pandora? There's
Well, what was going on was that Alfred was trying to get Pandora to come out of hiding because she has the box, and because they were playing on the idea of myths and how we think how much of these myths are true when we think about the Bible and we think about all those things. How much of those
Correct.
things are true? With Pandora's box, everyone believes that it is the essence of evil, and from it is where sin came.
Has anybody read Pandora, the 3 issues?
I didn't read them.
Okay,
I
so
didn't-
do we
I-
know if
I only read
Pandora
one.
comes from Earth 3?
No.
No,
She
she's
does-
from Earth.
she's yeah.
But
She
from,
was. Go ahead.
all right. From answering your question, they actually answer it in Forever Evil.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, it's in those. It's in one. He explains it, in like immediately in front of everyone in that pulled out page or in the page right after. He literally says on the planet that they were on. This is why I said that they might have mentioned. This is probably a precursor from Grant Morrison's run on Earth 3
Yeah.
because they said our planet turned against us,
Yeah.
so they destroyed it.
Right. No, that's fine. My issue is not that. My issue is what was Alfred doing on Earth that was necessary other than bringing Pandora out? He formed the secret society. He screwed with the Justice League. He did all these things. I don't understand why they needed to be done.
Oh, he just to weaken the Earth for them to come over and take over. That was pretty much it.
Okay.
Because he says it in the very first 2 pages in
Right.
that last issue.
Yeah.
He's like, I got here. I'm an outsider of this world.
Right.
So what is my mission? What way I could do about this and to bring them through? I am the outsider. So let me build this secret society so I can make this world ready for my master.
Right. And I understand that. But when you see how powerful these guys actually are, for me,
taken
it's
out by the butler.
right.
Yeah.
They could have, the crime syndicate could have come without any of that other stuff happening, and it would have been the same result.
Yeah.
The Justice League of America was formed to be a counter group to the Justice League. Nothing in my eyes that happened in the Justice League of America run so far leads me to believe that Alfred was successful in festering mistrust between the two groups because they already didn't trust each other. He didn't need to do anything. It was already done.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just accelerating it. Also,
I don't know.
I love the whole reveal of the crime syndicate.
Yeah.
But I felt underwhelmed with the
Okay.
whole reveal that it was the crime syndicate.
Right.
I still cannot place why Pandora, which seems to be a mystical creature born out of the original sin, and then you have Phantom Stranger,
Yeah, and the question.
and the question, and all these mythical
Yeah.
guys, and they're going again to find a Pandora box. Again, we don't know where Pandora also came from, and all that just to bring the crime syndicate over. I thought it was going to be something more of a mythical nature, something more of a. It's hard to say. I have mixed feelings about the reveal of this.
Yeah.
well, one thing that I did notice is that when issue 6 of Trinity War, they're talking about the box. You obviously know it takes over people. It plays on
Correct. Other
their
saints
darkest
and
part of
stuff like
themselves.
that.
Constantine hilariously is unaffected.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
But you notice at one point that the thing actually goes dormant. So
Yeah, it
what
does.
if he needed people to not only draw her out, but to do this for him able to safely use it or to gather energy because it could probably have more than one function.
True. I'm also curious as to how they know what Pandora's box does. Just for anybody who's not clear or is just catching
Yeah,
up,
because
it was a
Technological
It
portal.
was a portal. How did they know that? How did the crime syndicate know what Pandora didn't know, what Wonder Woman didn't know, what
Well,
all these characters
Well,
did not know?
obviously, it had to be created in
in
Earth
the-
3.
Right, but then how did it get here?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
And
a
how
lot
did
of questions.
Pandora?
The
how
great
does-
thing is that Alfred says, "Hey, we created it and we left it here." So
But how?
they probably sent it over. Like
Right, but
time may
if
go
you
differently from where the Earth is,
Okay.
or a thing is, so they
But
know
let me get
it
this
probably
right.
get there from a time before.
If you created and you left it here, then that means somehow you created Pandora.
Well, wait. Pandora, if you guys recall, this is 2 years ago now, but Flashpoint, Pandora was there. And Pandora is the only character who remembers that. What
no,
happened.
she's not the only one.
Okay, well,
Booster Gold.
all right. That's fantastic. Some D-lister. But Pandora remembers what
Let's
happened.
be fair.
And
C-list.
see, wow, okay. I think he
I
is
don't
the
know.
perennial
C-minus.
Wait,
D-lister.
his solo run was actually good. So come on.
That's fine. 2 people bought it.
Wow.
No, I'm sure he's a great
Not
character.
us included.
No,
I did.
but she remembers what happened. I don't remember if she had Pandora's box at that point.
No.
I'm not clear, but there are a lot of questions that have to be asked because Earth 3 guys, do they exist as pre-Flashpoint characters? Were they affected by Flashpoint as well? How did Flashpoint affect worlds other than Earth 1? And how did Pandora acquire Pandora's box? What if it was put there by the crime syndicate? How did that happen? It's a lot of
Then
things
I-
are up in the air.
Yeah, remember we did not read the 3 Pandora issues that were side.
It could have been revealed there.
It could have,
but
but we can't tell because
Right.
we haven't read it.
Yeah,
It's also kind of early because it's just a precursor to things. So maybe as of the eventual return of heroes, it'll reveal more information and how to deal with this and actually know the origin of this
Yeah.
box.
I love seeing the plane coming to the landing strip, but it was a wonky landing. Let's put it that way. It was kind of like.
and I don't feel that the plane has landed.
Well, the crime syndicate is here. That's the
Yeah,
biggest
oh,
reveal.
okay,
So
yeah.
that's the plane.
But my issue is we've seen DC do this before. We've seen DC remove the heroes. We've seen the Trinity fall. We've seen them vanish. So this is old hat for them. Now, I am somebody who did miss the sort of wackiness and the crazy conspiracy and all of that from the DC universe of old. So I'm happy that it's back. But I was hoping that they would do things in a way that's a little more concise, for lack of a better term. I feel that this is a cool reveal, but it lacks the answers that would make it an incredible reveal
So far.
so far.
Well,
And there's time for that.
Yeah.
well, what I say is that I know it's maybe lacking, but the way that things are done, it leaves people wanting more, which is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Okay.
And
fine.
that
I
might be
think to me, I believe that's the most
and-
important thing.
and that
I
might be
enjoyed
the
it.
intention behind
Yeah.
it.
Because if everything was revealed, you probably wouldn't read the next issue.
Oh, well, it would it would make me more excited for the simple fact that these questions are questions that I almost feel that there should have been seeds of. Not because look, I haven't exactly been all over the forums, but from what I've seen, no one saw this coming.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but they didn't tease this. They didn't seed this out. It just happened.
Well, to be honest, I do remember them teasing the Villains Month thing
Yes.
and seeing the coming of the crime syndicate.
Elaborate.
You can see kind of like previews, art previews, where you could see Ultraman, and they were talking about it. You can hear grumblings that the crime syndicate was going to be involved in the Villains Month. But
I didn't see
again,
that.
I didn't think it was going to be in the manner in which they reintroduced them to the New 52
Right.
was to me the biggest surprise because I did not see that coming from Trinity War.
Right.
That's the operative word. Surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But it's a surprise if tomorrow you drop. Surprise is a surprise. Now, was it a good surprise or a bad surprise?
I think it was a good surprise.
I think
I like I said, I was underwhelmed. I love the fact that they brought the crime syndicate
Sure.
back. Don't get me wrong. That's not an issue. I just thought it was a little wonky on the delivery. I think Forever Evil is a much better book leading up to it because then we see how bad these guys are, how bad and badass these guys are, and that they're not the same characters from before. They're really coming here to kick your ass and take names.
Yeah.
And that really sinister.
There was something in Forever Evil that shocked you, Sean.
Okay.
Nightwing.
That was awesome. That was
Yeah.
a really good moment, and actually, this was a book that made me feel something. What it made me feel was, holy, this is getting real. You know,
they're playing for keeps.
yeah, they're playing for keeps. This is getting extremely bad very fast.
Which what I was saying, like
Spoilers. They revealed Nightwing's identity in front of the world. He's now
in front
outed.
of all the villains.
Yeah,
too.
in front of all the
No,
villains.
some of the villains already knew, but they
Yeah.
don't talk about it. But now everybody.
No,
knows.
but now all the
he's been
villains
exposed
know.
now.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a moment of, wow, they're breaking all the rules because
not-
Joker would not do that.
and
You
not-
know, as an example,
And not only did they expose him, they exposed his whole family,
his whole family,
his
right?
friends,
Right.
and they pointed out that from now on, we know who you are.
We're gonna
because
get you.
we're coming from your parallel world,
Yeah.
so we know who you are, and we're not only going to kill you, but we're going to kill your sister,
Yeah.
your nephew.
And they also did the same warning to the villains. You cross us, we're going to do the
Exactly.
same thing.
And
These
yeah,
are villains that have nothing to lose.
they
and
don't
they're-
care.
yeah,
They're not
these-
from here. They have no
Exactly.
ties to
This
this
is the
world.
GLA without no loose ends, without no remorse,
Yep.
doing what
Kind of like the Authority.
kind of like the Authority, and I think they're even worse than the Authority. Actually, to be honest with you, but yeah, I mean, it's excited. I just wasn't too convinced of the way that they
Okay.
introduced it.
Okay.
Now, they did foreshadow one thing. Like, they're like, where's the Joker?
Yeah.
And then one of them said he could be anywhere wearing
Yeah.
somebody else's face, and,
And
he could be a
nobody-
problem
and
because he
nobody
hates
wants it.
structure.
Yeah, he's chaos.
Yeah, and for me, and it's just like the Joker is he's a random element, and I get it and I like it,
He's a wrench.
but I don't feel how he fits into something like that. How is he a threat to all of this? These guys took down the Justice League with no problem. So how does the Joker pose a threat?
Well, the same way Lex Luthor poses a threat, I guess. Even worse, he has no plans. He's a wrench.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it remains to
They
be
mean,
seem
seen.
to be
if-
knocking down
Yeah.
whatever they seem a threat. Phantom Stranger gone. Guys that could be a big problem with
Is
them.
the
Yeah.
Spectre there?
The
the
Spectre?
Spectre? No.
I didn't see him. No.
I don't think he's been introduced in New 52 yet.
Yeah.
Because that would have really been a problem.
But they took down big heavies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So I guess ultimately, it was really cool, but we need more information. So
Yeah.
I guess Villains Month, we'll definitely check
Hopefully
those books
we'll
out.
reveal that.
I
yeah.
think a few titles did come out. Batman and Robin was Two-Face this month.
Awesome
Justice
book.
League was Darkseid this month. There were a
It was
few. I didn't read them, so I'm not all clear. Harris, were they good?
Two-Face was great. The weak link was actually Joker.
Okay.
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 And the previous Batman and Robin was a great book.
That's
The
the
one that
yeah.
dealt with denial, the one that had Nightwing. in it.
Right. Yeah. That
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome book on that run.
So speaking of the wider DC universe, now that we're in it, were there any other books that you guys read that you wanted to talk about?
I read The Bunker, issue 2. It's a digital only comic.
Is that DC?
No, that's independent.
Okay.
From DC, Aquaman came out.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Aquaman was
That's
been
fantastic.
Yeah.
That was a great read. The final page was very, very good.
Did both of you guys read it? or-
I didn't read it,
I
but
read it.
I'm on the issue before that. I don't mind the spoilers
All
though,
right.
if you guys want to get
The
into
great
it.
thing about it is that they get to a conclusion, but right at the last page, they tell you, you're like, oh, so what happened to him? And then they all of a sudden they said, you see him, he's alive and everything.
Correct.
But they said, hey, you were knocked unconscious for 6 months.
Who are we talking about?
Aquaman.
Aquaman.
Wow.
He was knocked out for 6 months. So there is
Which
a
is kind of like ties into the Forever
Never
Evil.
evil because he has a 6-month absence because he was hurt that bad
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
that he was literally out of action.
And
he
you
was
see him with the grown
The beard, right? Okay.
and he was literally hidden away for his own safety while he recovered.
Yeah.
Correct. So that was.
So did he get knocked out during Forever Evil, or was this
No.
Through
during
his main comic.
Okay.
his main comic.
Okay.
Because in Forever Evil, you really don't see him. You don't
But
even
he was,
see him.
but he was in Trinity War though.
No.
Yes, he was.
Yes,
he?
he was.
Yes, he
He
was.
is in Trinity.
So I don't
War.
really understand how that makes sense.
I actually didn't see him there, but okay.
Yeah, he was
He
definitely
was in
there.
Trinity. Yeah, he's one of the main.
He was
characters.
beardless as well.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so I'm not clear on the timeline there.
We
but
don't. We
okay.
don't see. Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't know how they'll
Timelines
handle
with
that.
different
but,
books are weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his world is in tatters. His world is completely destroyed.
Okay.
They have
what?
an ancient. They have an
His
ancient king.
kingdom. What's the
plus-
name of the kingdom? Atlantis.
Plus a human who is now sitting on his throne. So
Correct.
we don't even know
Wow.
how they collided during
Right.
that 6-month
Correct.
period.
Yeah.
Because they were targeting him, and then you had this old king also
lot
trying to take out
happening
power.
there, yeah.
So it was a big power play that we don't even know
Yeah.
how that played out.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't know what happened to his wife either.
Yeah, Mara.
Mara,
Because she
right.
disappears after that. When he
Because
wakes
that
up.
old king wanted to take her by force
Correct.
to be his queen.
So-
She was also in Trinity War.
No, that was
No, Mara was there.
No, that was either Mansion Manhunter or somebody.
Mara was definitely there.
No, there's a panel where he says, Mara, you're here, and she's like, no, I'm not Mara,
Oh.
and he punches her.
Okay.
She punches him.
Ah.
So I think it's somebody
Yeah.
playing on his. So
Got
it's
you.
not her.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
got you.
either Mansion Man or some sort of shapeshifter
Right.
or the.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
It could be
that.
the
Okay.
counterpart, the white.
No, because
Martian.
she transforms. Mara does.
Okay.
If there's a transforming, that's not a shapeshifter, and
Exactly.
the crime syndicate world, there's a white.
No, I think this
Martian.
is before the reveal of the. Crime
It
Syndicate.
was
it's
before the
It's
reveal,
when they're
yeah.
fighting
Yeah,
for
amongst
the
themselves.
the Batman grabs it and runs away
Yeah.
with it. And
Yeah.
spoilers.
Hey, it may
spoilers.
shadow into something. Hey, it may foreshadow
keeps
into something
spoiling
else. So
Yeah.
Never said we never spoil you.
So I guess we can sort of transition over into Marvel.
Okay.
They've had
Yeah,
some-
they're gonna
there's
accuse us
some-
of just talking about these.
yeah, we have
Bing.
definitely talked about DC. Somebody's going to accuse us of being paid by them, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they pay very well, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually am paid by DC.
Are you?
I happen to actually be Batman.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
so wait,
well now we're confused because I thought
I
I was
also
Bruce
happen to be
Wayne.
Ben Affleck.
so you're Ben Affleck.
Yes.
Oh my god.
How do you
So
feel
who's
about
Matt
that,
Damon?
Leo? So is that a scroll that's impersonating Ben Affleck?
More
Just, like,
spoilers.
Peel off my face to like reveal Ben Affleck's face.
That'll be
Um,
interesting. Let me get my camera.
Speaking of scrolls and Marvel, Infinity. We are all caught up. We all read Infinity 1 and 2.
I kind of glanced at it, but
yeah.
I'll
Um,
let you guys take the lead on that. one.
I'm gonna start it off because I was really affected by Infinity 1. I thought that it was one of the better comics that I've read this year.
Artwork is amazing.
Artwork is
Yeah.
amazing. The writing is incredible. Jonathan Hickman really hit the ball way out of the park with this one. It's a very heavy read.
Yes, it is.
It's
Very
it's
busy.
very dense. So for someone who hasn't been keeping up with all of the things that are going on, it may be tough to get into it. But if you are caught up, and if you take the time to go back and read New Avengers and read Avengers, what you're going to find is a read that tailors to the person who gives a lot of their time to this stuff. The person who really invests is the person who's going to get
The most.
the most out of Infinity #1. It really spoke to me because I felt, wow, they've been building on this for years, not just since AVX, but even before. If people recall, there was a time when we were all sort of saying there's going to be a cosmic Marvel event because the Thanos imperative had happened, the Guardians of the Galaxy were destroyed, there were all of these things that took place, and something bad was going to happen because of the cosmic part of
Eventually.
Marvel. And this is that reckoning now. The Marvel heroes are sort of in the midst of this war that's all about Earth, and everybody is coming for them. Thanos is coming for them, and he's got an agenda. The Builders are coming for them, and they've got an agenda. It's so bad that the Avengers sided with
Kree.
Annihilus, the Kree, the Skrulls. everybody, the Shi'ar.
The Sharks, the Jets,
It's
Maria.
the Warriors.
Is Maria here?
it's that bad, and I found that to really impress upon me what's coming for them.
What's
And
at stake?
yeah, what's at stake. So I was really pleased with it. I thought it knocked the ball way out of the park. Black Bolt as a main character really intrigues me. I think he's a fantastic character, and I
Love that
love the
character.
way that they utilize.
Really
him in
cool
this
to
book.
bring him back into the mainstream.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn right.
He's been a member of the Illuminati, and that was my first introduction to him. And I really like him in that title, in New Avengers, and in his previous works in the Illuminati. And for him to take center stage now, and for the Inhumans to be such a major part of this is awesome for me. I really, really appreciated what he did on that book. In Infinity Part 2, I'm not so
Awesome.
sure.
Same here. I read Infinity 2, and like you, I was like, 1 was fantastic. What the hell is this?
Right.
Well, one sort of, definitely opened things up. It was an oversized book. It introduced a lot, most if not all of
A
the
lot of
main
narrative.
elements of
Yeah.
Infinity that are going to be in play. And then 2 sort of felt like it reverted back to the Avengers ongoing formula, where it's kind of a slow burn, and he's going to feed us, trickle that information, and Hickman will trickle that information in more gradually than what we experienced in the first book.
Right. I definitely agree with that. I don't know. For me, it had moments, but ultimately, I didn't feel much from reading that book. It didn't hit me the way that Infinity 1 did, and maybe that's okay because Infinity 1 was double-sized and all these things, but it didn't feel like it had the punch.
Well, I just glanced through it. I'm gonna hold my final opinion on
Right.
issue 2. Issue 1 I felt was very well done. It helped that it was such a long book, extra pages. Like we said, the artwork was amazing. I did read the previous couple issues that you lent me before that, so it didn't feel like that. Like it was complete surprise, but I can see somebody being overwhelmed if they haven't read anything about the Avengers before when they
Yeah.
first opened Infinity. There's a lot going on, a lot of movement, and a lot of characters, and the book is pretty long.
It's just such a task. You
it
couldn't. They're
is.
just.
And
they're-
I said this before. I have a problem with the tone of the book because, and this is just my old age showing. I never saw the Avengers for being sci-fi. Never seen that overreaching storyline for the Avengers. I thought that narrative was going to be used more for the Novas and the Guardian of the Galaxy. So to see Captain America in another planet and stuff like that, it's kind of like every time I see Batman in another planet,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But that's just me and the way that I grew up reading comics. So it might be my thing. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was a little overstretched.
Yeah.
And no, that was the other book we were talking about before that. The whole Avengers thing when they were taken out. That was the beginning of the Avengers run.
Right.
Before that. But that's what I felt. Again, I did like the book. Don't get me wrong, but I did feel it was overstretching.
It is a little disorienting. A little bit of a very big departure from what we're used to seeing with the Avengers.
Yeah.
But the premise, though, the fact that they are in space, that's what leaves the room for Thanos to invade.
Yeah.
And honestly, there are so many Avengers. Like, you could have Avengers in space. You're still gonna have Avengers on the planet.
Well, they
Yeah.
do introduce some Avengers that I've never seen before. Like these are C-listers, and maybe that's why Thanos is going to come
Well,
over. And
If you've been reading Avengers, then you've seen most of these characters. You've seen
Yeah.
Hyperion. You've seen the universe.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
seen, you've
Hyperion
seen-
from Squadron Supreme.
Yeah.
which is really not from the Avengers. I think he's also from parallel universe.
Yeah, but they ended up folding that
Falling
in.
over that. I mean, the Avengers have this. They have such a long roster that I can see that. I mean, their roster is so big that they even
Yeah.
have mutants. You even got Wolverine.
Just
in
about
there,
any
and
hero is an
Beast,
Avenger.
and yeah. So they have they throughout the years they have a lot of. They have Black Knight, and they had some of the Inhumans were Avengers also. I think
Captain
even the
Britain.
dog was even there at one point.
Oh yeah,
So,
Lockjaw.
Yeah, Lockjaw. So they have their roll call is pretty big. So I guess that's
Yeah.
what they're trying to reintroduce now with this. But
Avengers,
again, like
Avengers universe and all
yeah,
that.
the sci-fi element of it, I think that's what really kind of threw me off. It was so heavy with the engineers,
The
and
builders,
the
and-
builders,
yeah.
and the creators of world. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, where does Captain America's shield fits in all this?
And I think we touched on that last week
Yeah, we
a little
did,
bit.
yeah.
And I still agree because when I saw Captain America in space with this space combat gear on, swinging his shield at an Aleph or whatever that was, I was very freaked out. I liked everything that I saw in terms of him being on the ship and directing combat and things of that nature. Once he got out and was just fighting,
Yeah,
it
that
felt
kind of like
strange.
throws you like a bucket of cold water.
Yeah. Also, they even said one line in the book. They were like, "Hey, how does it feel like not to lead but to be a foot soldier?"
Right. Yeah.
When do you really see Captain America really be
Just a foot soldier. Yeah.
That's what's really out of place.
Yeah.
Because usually he takes command or at least have some type of role that he can guide people to do
Well, I think
things.
no. Again, I think my problem is with that. The Avengers, their membership is so big that they could actually form a intergalactic force to send over, and I would have not had a problem with Captain America being involved and obviously being the tactician that he is. Like usually when you see Batman, he always in the background. He leaves the big guns do their big guns thing.
Right.
So you can have the intergalactic, more sci-fi heavy characters go out there and maybe make them shine, because we know what Captain America is capable of and what he's not. So maybe not to focus so much on those characters, and maybe an opportunity to bring these intergalactic or other members in the forefront against these menace. I don't know. Once I saw Thor and all these guys in sci-fi and in the space and stuff like that, kind of threw me off.
Well, I think Thor and Hyperion and some of those guys do fit. Captain America is different from Batman, though, in the sense that Captain America does want to be on the battlefield. That's where he belongs. I just don't know if the middle of space is the battlefield for Captain America.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's
I
what I'm
don't know.
saying.
That is true. One of the things that kind of bothers me, and this may be minor or not, is that you have a person who has remained Captain Universe for a very long time. Captain Universe, the Enigma Force, which is originally called, once a threat is over, it moves on to someone else. Seeing it on to someone else is like, that's why Captain America, I thought for a second, I'm like, what if Captain America actually had the Enigma Force at that time? Maybe it would have been less awkward.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say. Captain Universe, is it? Captain, the kind of
the
character?
Enigma Force.
Yeah. It's so powerful that to see Captain America in a spacesuit swinging it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
go take a seat, old man. Like,
or be at a command
I am the
center.
freaking universe here. Like, really? Do you have to be in the background swinging your freaking?
Yeah.
Well, they do have a lot of scenes where he's directing the ships, telling people where to go.
Right.
He is still being the captain, but it's funny to see him fight alongside gods. Not usually. I mean, he always does do that, but in this setting, in space where he clearly doesn't serve much more of a role than to be that tactician, it's silly to have him in the field.
Yeah, especially since the beginning of this run, of the Avengers run, they've been stressing just how terrifyingly powerful the builders are, how powerful the Alephs are, how powerful Ex Nihilo is, and the Void. So Captain America swinging his shield in the midst of all that just seems crazy to me. But I can let it go because still quality stuff so far.
Then those characters you just mentioned took out the whole Avengers by themselves and sent
Yes,
Captain
they
America
did.
with his tail between his legs.
Exactly
Like,
right.
get out of here! We just kicked your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's actually kind of silly? What I actually didn't like. I don't know if you guys read the Avengers Assemble tie-in and the I think it was the Captain Marvel tie-in, but they have scenes in those two books where like Thor and Hulk are fighting the builders, and granted it's not like they're taking them all at once, but they're just breaking these guys apart. Meanwhile, in the main Avengers book, they're like, these are the gods, these are the creators, and it's like,
there seems to
there's an imbalance in how these
that's what I was
characters are
about
being
to
treated.
say,
Yeah, because in the first arc of Avengers, these characters
Are
were
bad.
too much
Yeah.
for Cap, Thor, Hulk, all those people, and then now it's just like they're being. Gladiator says, "Okay, let's go, guys. We're gonna kill them," and then they just start falling like flies.
I mean, they made the Hulk their puppet.
Yeah.
I find this funny, but
now we have to forget
in
that.
the same book, you see Captain Universe get out of her coma or whatever, and she comes up, and all she does is reveal herself, and these guys just stop. Now, my problem is that when they go, this happens, Infinity happens right after, right?
Yeah.
So why doesn't just have Captain Universe just roll up?
Right.
Yeah,
Because they acknowledge who she is.
there seems to be an imbalance depending on how the story to move it
Yeah,
along.
yeah.
Like
Keep in mind,
we seem to
the story's great.
depower the character so we can move on to the next page.
Right.
And it sometimes is jarring when you just saw it in a book before, 2 books before,
Yeah.
what this character can do by himself, and all of a sudden it gets taken out by a rock thrown at his head or something. It's like,
Well, now thinking about it, a lot of times is that we gotta kind of look at continuity a little bit. The time frames between books are kind of weird because you could say, "Hey, we're reading this right after," and it could be like simultaneously happening or a little bit later or before. So it's hard when you're reading from one thing to lead to another and expecting it that it's going by the numbers. But thinking about it, time frames are always wobbled.
Speaking of that, actually, that's a really good point. And it's addressed in Uncanny Avengers. Captain America has a conversation with the Wasp where he actually comes clean with her about the events of the Captain America book, that he's been stuck on some other planet, Dimension Z, and he's been very stressed out. That he hasn't seen her, and I think he said it was a decade, something like that. It was about a decade, and that he's been out of sorts. So I think it's interesting now that they're sort of reintroducing these elements or introducing these elements of what's happening in Captain America's universe, what's happening in Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're all sort of coalescing in this infinity. So I think that's really great. One aspect that we haven't talked about is what's happening on Earth with Thanos and how he's got his people, sort of his assassins, his manipulators, working and trying to gather information. They already succeeded. They know that the Illuminati exists. They know that the gems, the Infinity Gems, are broken, which of course comes from New Avengers. For those of you who read it,
so
so
the gauntlet is broken.
no, the gems were broken.
Oh, the gems were
The
broken.
gems were
too,
broken.
All but one.
All but one.
Okay.
And I believe that he actually gets the gauntlet. Thanos does, right?
He actually gets a new one built
Okay.
because he, in the beginning of Infinity, he gets some of his messengers to go over,
Right.
threaten a race
Yep.
that we never seen before. I don't think.
Yeah,
anyone's
I've
seen it
never
before.
seen
No.
that.
And they say, "Hey, we could kill you all, or we could do this the easy way. This is what we want. We want you to create this gauntlet." They actually say the word gauntlet, and they actually present it. They lift it over their heads because they're very
Yeah, I
small
remember
people,
that.
and you actually
Yeah.
see the golden gauntlet.
Right.
Missing the
Right.
gems.
Missing the
Yes.
gems, of course. Now, I seem to recall in New Avengers that they can be rebuilt. They can come back. So I'm thinking, is is Thanos trying to get a newly forged Infinity Gauntlet with the gems attached? Is that his goal, or is his goal this whole thing that they introduced towards the end of Infinity Part 2 about the son, trying to kill his son? He in the beginning of Infinity Part 1, we see that he had done this before. He went to another planet and told them to kill their young, correct? That
Yeah.
did happen.
Yeah, the first
So,
part,
yeah. So now he's going to Attilan, right?
I tell him, yeah.
Yeah, and saying kill your young for me, and I guess that is what is Thanos' son running from him?
Well,
What's-
remember, Thanos' thing was always that he's in love with death.
yes.
So maybe that it's a way of
Well-
tribute to the person. He's in love with death.
Is
and,
Thanos that promiscuous that he doesn't know he
Right.
is not the father or he is the father?
Who knows? He's
Right,
intergalactic
exactly.
god.
That's
yeah.
kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Does Thanos not know who his son is? If he does know, is he tracking him somehow? Why can't he just find him himself?
Yeah, one thing that kind of weirded me out recently is in the book they demonstrate in the Human Palace like, hey, you can't really threaten us, and they
Yeah.
four of them kill themselves.
They kill themselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was incredible.
One thing that I did find kind of weird is that are they lending some of the ideas from the Negative Zone world where they actually crave death and they can't die?
I'm pretty sure they can die.
I
Like,
think
no,
they were
God.
pretty dead when they fell.
And,
to
no,
the
I'm talking
ground.
about in
Never.
Infinity. The thing
Yeah.
is, in Infinity Part 1, that assassin who did his job, what his gift that was granted him
Was
was
death.
death.
Yeah.
Clearly, they are all worshippers of the same god that Thanos worships, which is death
death.
itself.
Yeah. But I'm just
So
saying.
they don't care. For them, that's glory. To die is glory.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that they're borrowing from that idea, because in Negative Zone they all want to die.
But they can't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying is,
Well,
the stark parallel, especially that Nihilist was shown as a team up. So does that shadow at one point? He's like, wait, this guy can actually freaking kill me. We want to join him because that's something we want.
If
Right.
I remember Thanos' gig correctly, was that he fell in love with death and he wanted to sacrifice every living being in honor of her. That means destroying everything.
Yeah, and at one
Right.
point he succeeded,
exactly.
repented because death was like, then you eliminate my existence.
Correct.
And then at one point he actually let himself get killed
Correct.
and was part of death.
So
Now
maybe-
how
but-
he came back is anyone's guess.
Correct.
I don't remember how he came back. I think
This
it was
is,
explained
it
in
sounds like
Thanos'
Marvel
Infinity.
playing
No,
52 without
I know it
naming
was-
52.
I know it was kind of muddled because it was on a Guardians of the Galaxy book before it was brought back. That he was in a cocoon, people thought it was Magus, and then it was actually him. And that was after Thanos Imperative, and then they completely like shuffled that off and never mentioned it again.
Okay.
So to me, it's very muddled. There's like a lot of
I
information.
read
left
those
there.
books a long time ago, so I really have very little recollection of that.
Yeah.
But I remember from the old comic books that was his thing. So I don't know if they're going forward with that or.
Mhm.
But it seems to me that they're killing even their own people as a means to reward.
Yeah.
So that seems like they're offering themselves to the goddess, which is death to it.
Exactly. And I just love the way these villains have been introduced in the sense, okay, we don't care about what you threaten us with. You can't do anything that's going to bother us because we want to die. We have an agenda. It's going to succeed. You can't stop it, so give us what we want. And even Medusa is almost like she feels that they're serious, that this is not a game.
Yeah.
And so all of these things impress upon us, the readers, just how dire straits are in the Marvel Universe right now. You have Infinity happening, and then, of course, you have Battle of the Atom happening, which is dire for the X-Men. So a lot of bad things are going on in the Marvel Universe right now. I don't know. Did any of you guys read Battle of the Atom?
No, I did not.
I did.
Okay, so I only read issue number 1. I thought it was okay. I like that it they finally figure out that having these kids be present is a problem because it could cause
Paradoxes.
temporal paradoxes. What I don't get is how these guys who have dealt with time travel for all these years didn't think about that before and send them away. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. It took for Cyclops to die and for grown Cyclops to disappear for them to figure out, oh, this could be bad. Let's send them back. Really? Beast didn't get it?
Yeah.
Really?
They have a crisis of infinite Earth. In my way.
Well, isn't the whole thing with them being in the present and being allowed to remain in the present, being it's their decision. They don't want to force them to leave. They're still kind of humoring their human rights, which is
Yeah,
what's
but I
kind of
think
allowing
Angel
them to stay.
left them.
No,
Yeah, Angel bounced,
Angel's
but he's still in the same time.
Yeah, he just left the Jean Grey
No,
school.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, he left. No, the young
Angel.
The young
Yeah.
angel
Yeah, he-
left the young X-Men where he
Yeah,
came with.
exactly.
them.
Yeah, he left the Jean Grey school and he went to join with old Cyclops. My issue is, okay, yes, I understand that they're giving them the choice. I also understand that they don't know what will happen if they send them back. But I believe that the repercussions would have been instantly recognizable. For instance, when young Cyclops died, old Cyclops instantly ceased to exist. So, if there were going to be repercussions of the young X-Men having gone to the future, we would already have seen them.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they can't just
It's a
send them
time
back.
paradox. It's just dealing with something that they.
I think it
really
was.
can't.
I think they were stalling. I really do. I
Yeah.
think Brian Bendis was charged with stalling for a few months till Battle of the Atom could kick off.
Yeah.
That's what it really feels like.
Sometimes these writers back themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, hey, they brought him here, and then they're like, we know it can lead to something, but we don't really want to do anything right now because we have.
Or
all
we're
these
not
things
sure what
going."
it's going to lead
Yeah.
into. at the moment that they made the decision to do this.
Right. And Battle of the Atom feels like something that kind of just happened. Like, okay, random day, things are going on,
Yeah.
and then these future X-Men come, and
Which
there's
is
a
something
problem.
that X-Men has done to death. I mean, that's why maybe when I heard about this, it didn't even register in my radar. I was kind of like, oh, another timeline story for the X-Men.
Yeah.
Not really what I want to see again. I've
Yeah.
seen so many of them. There's been so many heroes. Bishop was from the future. Cable was from the future.
Yeah.
Days of Future Past. This guy villain was from over there. The other one was from the past. It's
Yeah.
like they can find all kinds of villains and heroes, but none from the present. They're all from the past or from the future.
I read both issue 1 and 2, but the way that I look at it is like I'm not really excited for it.
Okay.
Like you said, or to use your phrase earlier, Sean, old hat.
yeah.
They've done this before.
Yeah.
You said, hey, we would have seen
Kind of
repercussions.
gimmick it.
So you're already seeing in your head, okay, they're gonna send them back, wipe out their mind, so they never knew any of this happened. They actually did this with Thunderbolts not too long ago.
Okay.
They
Oh
went-
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
They went out and Fixer made a mistake and killed his younger self, but they were in a time bubble. That's why he didn't disappear. And what did he do? He made himself look younger, replaced himself, erased X amount of years, and then the timeline wasn't disrupted.
Right.
It could be something similar like that could happen, or it can't be. But most likely, it's just going to be like, hey, you go back.
Right.
You haven't read issue 2 yet,
No.
but there's a big thing about
Go
it.
ahead.
A big reveal that
Go ahead. Spoilers.
Zorn takes off her helmet, and it's Jean Grey.
Zorn.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I guess I gotta read the book.
Yeah, you see
Um,
her right when she comes. Well, you see it when it comes in.
Yeah.
The Zorn helmet and everything, and I'm like, wait, a female Zorn? And in issue 2, takes off the helmet, and it's actually Jean Grey.
Future Gene.
No, it's actually Jean Grey, but in the future somehow.
Future
Okay.
time displaced.
Okay. So
So it's the present Jean Grey stuck in the future that came back to the present.
wow,
It-
that
it-
just blew my
no,
mind.
apparently-
That came from the past.
No,
Wow.
No,
I'm
think
fried
about
now.
Jean Grey,
All right,
and-
now I'm definitely gonna need a drink.
and somehow, she was
I was
reborn.
very,
Somehow,
good until this point, drinking my coffee.
yeah,
but
somehow
now-
she's reborn somewhere in the future, and she does acknowledge in front of Rachel Grey that I'm your mother.
Okay, I understand.
Ooh, okay, forget about that.
It's very convoluted, but when I looked at it, I was like, it's really weird. I'm not really excited about it. It seems something that is just like, it's going to be there momentarily, and then it's just going to be swept under the rug later.
Leave it to the X-Men to do something that confuses everybody in the room.
To be honest, the that reveal actually made me feel like the entire event, the entire purpose of all of this was just to bring back Jean Grey.
Interesting. That doesn't bother me, not in the
Of
slightest.
course it wouldn't.
Don't they always try to bring back Jean Grey?
I mean, it's the only way that they've done so far that sort of has made sense in any way, even though it's convoluted and weird.
Yeah. I don't. Look, I feel that with the X-Men, they're at a point where okay, either Cyclops is going to become good again, or he's going to become a worse version of Magneto. The old
Or can
crazy
he- or-
bad
or
Magneto,
can he
or
come
be
back?
or be killed. But I don't see that happening, and I think that they should have gone and focused on that and focused on the sort of stalemate that exists between the Wolverine X-Men and the Cyclops X-Men, and not introduce this random sort of element. I don't get the value of it, and again, it seems very random. It
I
just
agree.
feels
That
random.
would have been a lot better of a story.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because right now, this is like, out of nowhere.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem something that you could get. There's nothing to really draw you in, really.
yeah,
Because it seems like everything's telegraphed.
yeah,
You can see what's coming next, and even that reveal, you're like, okay, really? You have all the grandchildren, but she's nice and fresh in the future, so you know she's gonna come back one way.
right.
And then, okay, we destroyed the Phoenix Force, and then we're gonna bring it back somehow, and then it's probably not gonna come back. And then you're like, how am I supposed to care about all this? The main thing that I read these books for is for them to kind of try to coexist and how that's gonna work, because two different ideals going against each other.
Yeah,
Now it's taking a back burner.
exactly. and the all the past few months of X-Men has been all about that. It's been Cyclops recruiting new X-Men. It's been the Jean Grey school sort of teaching these old new X-Men how to exist in this world and stuff like that. So for those things to have been the centerpiece of these books for all these months to just become, oh, forget that. Here's this future X-Men thing that's going on now. Why? You have a story. Tell it.
I think it's severely harmed those books or any books that consequently come out of it.
Okay.
Because they were on a roll with something, and then they just like put on the brakes and be like, "Oh, let's deal with something that we didn't completely think through,
Right.
Yeah.
and try to deal
That's
with
what
it
it sounds.
immediately."
Yeah.
Like as much as people complain about the shortness of the Trinity War, they should do the same thing with it. Keep it short, get rid of it, and get back to what drew people in.
Well, I don't want them to discard it either. I think if they're going to go down this road, they need to just go all the way with it and do it right.
Yeah.
Because just sweeping it under the rug would be worse than introducing it in the first place.
Yeah, I just wish that it's just not going to be dragged out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just do
Yeah.
it quickly, and it may be acknowledged and it has some type of repercussions, but not so major that it ruins the main story.
Yeah.
Well, with all, with Age of Ultron and the whole business with the time stream and the all new X-Men, not really seeming to serve much of a purpose, in terms of the Cyclops and Wolverine, thing going on. What is it all leading up to?
Yeah.
Fans have speculated that Marvel may attempt to do some sort of flashpoint where they kind of get to pick and choose parts of their franchise that they've liked the
52?
best and now roll with that. But I personally think that's unlikely.
Yeah.
But it really does make you question what the end game is.
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I think they've been doing it without acknowledging. They were shifting cards. They kind of want to. The problem with it seems with Marvel now is that they kind of like. What is the expression say? You want the cake, but you want to eat it too.
Yeah,
Like, they
yeah.
kind of like want what they want without acknowledging what they cannot have.
DC is guilty as charged on that one.
Yeah,
since New 52.
but at least they told you straight out that they were
They're all about
Yeah. Yeah.
they were
That's
gonna-
that's true. That's
they
true.
were going to take your
Yeah.
cookies.
One thing that I'm really thinking about, which what's it kind of leading to and where's it going, is, and this is kind of sounds like a kind of Doctor Who joke, but what if they do an event that deals with a time war temporally, because they mentioned Kang.
Right.
Yeah, but this all sounds like
And
Infinity
Kang,
of
you don't
Crisis
even see
War.
Kang show his rear his head for a while.
Wait, so they mentioned Kang in Battle of the Atom Part 2?
I think it was a book. It was another book that kind of.
Oh, was it Uncanny Avengers? Because
Yeah.
Kang is all in that
Yeah,
book.
but
He's-
it kind of links in.
He's
somehow.
very involved in that title.
Yeah, it's gonna link in.
Okay. I don't know how caught up you all are on that, but I know that that's an amazing book. Danny, you read that.
Yeah, I read
Yeah.
the recent one.
Okay. Uncanny Avengers, that's a whole other wrinkle because in that book you're dealing with the Apocalypse twins and the new Four Horsemen. I'm going to tell you who they are right now. Spoilers, even though the cover shows who they are.
Spoilers.
You got Banshee. That's a very interesting choice. You have Dakin.
Really, Banshee? Okay.
Yes, Banshee. Dakin. Sentry, who I was very happy to see, even though he's very weird now.
Good old
Sentry,
Bob.
The guy that they killed.
Good old Bob.
The guy that they killed, Sentry?
Yes,
That guy that you were
yes.
mentioning the other day, you want to see him come
yeah,
back?
yeah. So
They brought him as a...
they heard me and they
Oh,
brought him
right.
back.
I thought that was terribly cool.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, and then the final one is I cannot remember. It's the final one is
It's
Run-
Archangel's
Drumroll.
son.
Archangel's son.
Yeah, they said our father Worthington, which is Archangel.
It's not it's not Cannibal or...
No,
Hannibal,
no,
whatever
no.
his
It's
name is.
there's 4.
Yeah, one of them did mention Archangel, that is his father, and them had wings and everything. So I don't even know what his name
Oh no,
is.
it's Wonder Man's brother.
Right. Thank you. It's Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you got Grim Reaper,
Who's torturing
Sentry,
him.
Dakin, and Banshee,
Wait, is that
Um,
the Green Reaper, the character with the skull in the chest?
And he has a
the
huge
little-
scythe.
and he has a
Really?
scythe. Yes. And this
Great
is
use of your beeline.
Yeah, he's amazingly beeline.
this is old,
Or
and
C.
he actually just died in that book. By the way, he
He was
was
the only reason he's relevant.
yeah, exactly.
He's dead.
This is old hat for Rick Remender. He's been telling the same sort of apocalypse story for quite some time now. For those of you who read X-Force,
Yeah,
that
great run.
this
That
is
was a
spinning out of
great-
that
yeah.
for sure, and I like it because that
follow-up almost.
yeah, it's a direct follow up. That was an amazing book. I like to see it now with the Apocalypse twins and all that, but it's been going on for a while, and I'm really looking for it to actually involve the wider Marvel universe. I want to see the ripples already because nothing that has happened in that book has really been reflected anywhere else. So while the events are very important, they're sort of off to the side.
Yeah,
and
that's probably gonna be very hard for them to do with the Avengers going on.
Yeah,
and
they
all the
never
other events going
they
on.
never addressed the events of X-Force in terms of the secret of X-Force and such in a big way. And now we have this what's supposed to be the flagship title of the Marvel Universe, not being reflected anywhere at all. It's really strange. It's really strange to me.
Honestly, I wish I was writing for them because it would have been a great event to do that. That's a great idea. It'd be like, hey, the consequences of them being exposed
Yeah.
and put everything out in the open.
Yeah.
And you know how many ramifications, how many people are going to be people's lives are going to be changed.
Yeah, but we talk about this X-Men doing this. I mean, Marvel doing this. When one superhero team goes off to space, the other one gets an event in Earth.
You did say that.
And
yes.
nothing ever coincides.
Yeah, we did say that last
That's
time.
that's a joke, but it's actually true.
But it's true. But you're seeing it right now. You have the Avengers off to space, and you have the X-Men going through their own thing.
But to me, that's a fantastic idea. Breaking that wide open.
Yeah.
Wow, that would have been amazing.
It was touched on a little bit, if I recall. But it didn't hold weight. And now again, Captain America doesn't know that Wolverine had an X-Force, does he?
No, I don't think so.
No, wait, but isn't it the fact that he killed young Apocalypse a thing though? That happened. Captain America yelled at Wolverine for that in
Yes.
Uncanny
wasn't
Avengers.
it Deadpool that killed X-Force? That killed the young.
Well, it was Wolverine's
It was
squad.
Wolverine's team.
Yeah, Phantom X did that.
Oh, Phantom X.
But my concern is he doesn't know that X-Force existed. He doesn't know, and most people don't know. So that should have more weight in my eyes. That should be a bigger thing.
Especially how X-Force has kind of been waning.
Yeah.
The title,
Yeah, to make it a little bit more relevant.
I think that would have been a much bigger. Much preferable storyline to continue that Children of the Atom thing.
The Battle of the Atom, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the X-Men, there are a lot of secrets. There are a lot of things
Yeah.
happening that don't get as much shine as this new thing. And I feel that, they have story already. They have things. You don't need to introduce future X-Men. You don't need to go down that road.
Especially
Just tell
when you
the
have
story
done it
that's
so
present.
many times in the past.
Oh, please, it's been done to death.
Yeah, so
It really has.
when you hear about it, you hear the premise of the story.
Yeah.
You're like, I'd seen this already.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
yeah.
I don't want to see the same song sang a different way. It's the same song.
Yeah. So, with that, we're gonna wrap up. It's been an hour and a half at this point.
Surprisingly,
but the
Yeah.
time flew because we were all very antsy and excited to
Trinity
talk
War.
about these things. and
Yes.
Harris clearly very excited about Trinity War. But no, we were all excited, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this. A few notes. As of this podcast, we are up to date. So now you're going to be getting weekly podcasts updated from us to YouTube, and we're going to have a website and a Facebook page and such. So
Can we
definitely-
mention the name of the website? Or do we?
Well, it's going to be called Total Geek Network. .com, and the YouTube page is Total Geek Network, which you guys should know if you're listening to this. We're gonna have a new sort of program. I'm going to probably be the one to do this. It's going to be called the Pull List, and I'm just going to review on video my five random books that I read that week, and just give my opinions and my thoughts on that. So you'll get to see my lovely face.
Finally.
And that'll be a weekly thing. So we've got things coming down the pipe. We're going to have a website, and we're going to have, a blog and things like that on there. So, definitely check that out, and, like us and subscribe on the YouTube if you're into what we're doing. So definitely we'll be back next week. And, it's been great. So this is Sean Bartley,
Leo.
Harris.
Daniel?
the special guest, and
Sir.
hopefully
And
you enjoyed
please-
his
yeah.
presence, and I'm sure we'll hear from him.
Come more often also.
Yeah,
Looking
drop
forward
by.
to sporadically contributing my opinions. and
Definitely,
thoughts.
definitely. Thank you for joining us, and we're out of here. So, yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Swag.
Affleck.